the glistening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea.
We are once again with some very serious issues that are to be confronted on our program. I'm Georgia Matthews II. If you're new to the channel, and again, I am the black shirted egalitarian, and an egalitarian is a person who is for, in a very pointed and demonstrative way, the rights, the fair rights of all people, regardless of their race, their ethnic backgrounds, ethnic origins, whatever else you may have, that has to deal with issues that in many people's minds cause inequality. And of course, we had this statement. And again, as you're coming in, make sure that you give us a thumbs up. That's a like, or a thumbs down, whatever floats your boat, whatever gives an accurate uh, pace and an accurate indication of how you feel about our program. Why don't you write something in there, type something in there that really gives that really conveys your feelings about our program and why we're here. And again, we have a very serious subject before us tonight. Please type it in: why blacks should not rule. That's the subject: why blacks should not rule. And then there's a hashtag. Do you all see the hashtag there? Hashtag equally with whites. Please type that in somewhere as well. It's going to be very important for where we need to go tonight. And an indication of where we are. It's an indication of where we are. It's an indication of where we are, what we have going on. I want to read this, and I pulled it up. I could quote it, but I want to make sure I don't miss a word here. Again, this is the foundational phrase. I think it's the second paragraph of the United States Declaration of Independence, 1776, and that means in this year, this nation will be 250 years old. And a nation of 250 years is really a young nation. The study, the science of democracy, politically speaking, is what was called the experiment, the democratic, the mindset of government for and by the people. Democracy, democracy, democracy was an experiment tried and viewed for the rest of the world here in these United States. And again, all men were created equal is a foundational phrase from the U.S. Declaration of Independence, 1776, authored primarily by Thomas Jefferson, who himself was an enslaver. And this shows you the hypocrisy, the gross hypocrisy of this country. Many of the signers of both the Declaration of Independence as well, the Declaration of Independence first declaring this country's independence from Great Britain, who sponsored, if you will, the trip over from England to the Newfoundland, otherwise known as America. And then after being here, the settlers, early settlers, realized that they were still being taxed in England without living there. And again, that brought about the U.S. Revolution, United States Revolution, the Revolutionary War, and that issued on this Declaration of Independence, this country declaring its independence from its parent company, mother company, country, Great Britain. And the principal architect of this thing that was supposed to be called democracy was Thomas Jefferson, who himself, as I said, was an enslaver, who had a number of slaves on his plantation. Not only that, but Thomas Jefferson fathered, sired, probably better, maybe even raped. We don't know. We were not there holding the light. But if history has any impact, this is what the enslavers did with Black women, African women. Sally Henning, who I think he fathered 6 children, someone can correct me on that. This statement was supposed to declare that all people possess inherent God-given rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It was the principle of human equality and the rebuke to tyranny through its interpretation regarding who was included, which has expanded over time. Now, we know that Black people were not included, particularly Black men, black women after that, no people with black skin, because most of these people who were signing, authoring, fathering this thing called democracy themselves were enslavers. So you could not see people as equal when you had the harsh mistreatment by their own hands and the hands of their superintendents, let's just say, back on the plantation in their own homes. So we start off there. So good evening. Thank you all for coming in. We're here at least one Monday out of the month, and we've been here before. I think last week or the week before. And the reason that we're here tonight is we have some very serious issues to discuss, which have happened really in our laps. Those who live in the Birmingham, Alabama, Jefferson County, otherwise known as Jeffco Metroplex, and it is a real template. This is a rubrics of this country, of the Project 2025, authored by the Heritage Foundation, which we tried to tell people about last year. And I don't know why any black person, brown or bronze person, would ever vote for Donald John Trump. I said his name once. That's probably it for the night. Slash 45, number 45 slash 47, because this document, nearly 1,000 pages, told us what he was all about. And people say, well, I couldn't vote for a woman. It's not the will of God for a woman to lead it. Well, God would correct you on that, because there were judges in Israel. I want somebody to type this in there in the chat. God went from this place of kings ruling, which was patriarchal. But before you got into the kings, there were judges that ruled his nation called Israel. And this, interestingly enough, a very small portion of judges, Samson was one. You read about him over the book of Judges. And some people say there were 12. I've studied over the years that there were 13 judges, but however, 12 to 13 judges. Some people say as many as 15 or 16. But Deborah, in that small count, Deborah, some people pronounce her name Deborah, however whatever floats your boat, was included in the number of judges. So it must tell us that God had no problem, even under the Old Covenant, in the Old Testament, using women. Then we saw that when Jesus was resurrected from the grave in Galatians chapter 3, verses 26 through 29, that under the new covenant, which is the covenant that this world, those who are born again, who say they love Jesus, should operate from, there is neither in Christ. We all have put on Christ. And so God sees us in Christ. And there is neither Jew nor Greek, that's ethnicity, neither bond nor free. That has to do with God seeing people as slaves or owners of slaves. And then there's neither male nor female, but we're all one in Christ. So all of that has been abolished. And so that's an old mindset. And for people, we live under, in this country, and I'm going to get to my subject matter in a minute. Just allow me to vent for half a second here. Man, how long have I been talking? Almost 10 minutes. Wow. We live the political system. Please hear this. The political system in this country is not one of perfection. It isn't one of perfection. You're never going to have a candidate, whether it's you're voting for a dog catcher all the way up to the president of these United States, that is, excuse me, perfect. The political system in this country is based on several factors. Number one, finding the candidate that most meets the representation of your needs, wants, desires, that which causes you to live life, embrace life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Then, secondly, to find the most perfect candidate, you're not going to ever have one that's flawless, but one that, number one, most meets your and represents your needs, wishes, and desires. Number two, the most flawless candidate that those flaws would inhibit them from being able to do so. And then, of course, probably number three, the candidate that has the best track record in terms of that representation of whatever it is you and your group, whether it be your family or collective political aspirants nearly meets. And so it isn't a system of perfection. And so some people look for the perfect candidate or perfect representation. It doesn't happen. Good evening, Carolyn Banks, Faith Walker, Connie Demand, Pamela Dobbins, Shirley Miller, E. Hale. Yes, everyone type the subject in if you haven't already. A.B. Jones, good evening to you. I'll go ahead and say it for you. It was Frederick Douglass who said, "It's knowledge that makes a man unfit to be a slave." We here at the Silence, we speak the truth, whether it causes our knees to shake, our voice to tremble, or your liver to quiver. We here are people of truth. The resident historian has joined us, Theresa Thomas. Thank you. She says she's liked and shared. Have you shared? People need to know that we are here. Let's see who else is there. Thank you all for being here. Um, and I want to be sensitive. I don't even want to call people's full names really on this kind of program because it might be that it gets you in trouble. I know it was John Lewis, beloved John Lewis, the late John Lewis. He said there is a thing called good trouble, but maybe not everyone, because you're agreeing with this program, needs for everyone to know. I don't know. I have mixed emotions about that. See who else we have. Barbara Grant has joined us. I have full names here. Bernice Redden, good evening to everyone. Frank Campbell, 1776 United States American experiment. Yes, 1776 to 2026, 250th celebration. Yes, you're exactly right. Why black should not rule? Have you typed the subject in? Yes, American democracy. Yes, yes, yes. You all hear Veronica Jackson. Yes, Deborah was a judge. Exactly. There were judges in Egypt. Yes, that's exactly right. Authoritarian takeover. They tried to tell us, and we tried to tell everyone else. I don't understand. I just don't get it. Thank you, Carolyn. She says I'm on the bus. Yes, thank you. Yes, yes, yes. All right. So Dolores Gaines has joined us. Thank you, Dolores. Uh, I want to get into something. It was Lift Every Voice, and I want to give credit to where it's due. Alicia Keys, who brought us in, and I like her rendition, and thank God for her. Um, every voice has a place, every voice has significance. And how long should we do it? Till earth and heaven has a symphonic or a crescendo in terms of its rendering. Not ending significance, sing with harmony, join in with others with a cause, and that of liberty. It was Dr. King who said three very important statements that kind of really shape where we're going tonight and where we have been. It was Dr. King who said our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter none of the place. Dr. King says nothing in the world as dangerous as sincere ignorance and conscientious stupidity. And then finally, what will be remembered in the end will not be the words of our enemies, but in fact, the silence of our friends. Again, proof is the missing ingredient when dealing with MAGA Republicans. Make America Great Again. The number 45, excuse me, slash 47 Republicans. They're different. They just are, they are a different breed. Basically fueled by hate and racism, bigotry, even from what I can see and best to tell. And I don't know how, okay, I'll leave that part alone. Truth and proof. And so this program and programs or podcasts like these exist in my mind for that reason. Again, there are seven pillars that make up a society, substratum, make up a society pillars, P-I-L-L-A-R-S, differing from pillows, P-I-L-L-O-W-S in its plurality. Um, and Proverbs chapter 9 tells us as much or backs it up, verses 1 and 2. Someone can read that at your convenience. And so, seven mountains, you're going to affect a society. You have to understand that there are these seven pillars. You don't just affect a society by saying you're going to affect a society. If we're going to correct something, we have to correct, we have to engage in these seven layers. A church is made up of these seven layers. People come from these seven layers. Societies have these seven foundational underpinnings. The mountain of religion, world religions, Islam, Christianity, Buddhism, Baha, so forth, just a few, just to name a few. Then the family mountain, mom or dad, the absence of either, the culture of the home influences. These are mental shapers or mind shapers. Education, miseducation, undereducation, racist education. What happens? This is just a rhetorical question. What happens when your former uh, uh, captors, racist minded people become your educators? Those persons were in control of American history. History in general was copiously recorded by those who had money and influence, and they were white skinned people. And so theirs was to jade, redact, taint history as it was recorded. And I just have a real problem. And I've seen this even in denominations. I've seen people redact history. That's a lie that's told when you assign names and titles and positions to people that didn't have them, when you give credit to people that did not accomplish things, it's a lie. And it even happens in denomination. I've seen it happen right in front of my eyes. I read documents. I'm like, that man wasn't on this board. That man didn't accomplish this. That man didn't walk with these other men. But because sometimes relatives and people who are zealous for authority, redact. It's the same as changing history as far as blacks in America and their contributions. And this is what education does. It has an effect on people's worldview and their personal or individual views regarding themselves and their potential based on history. Then there's the mountain, of course, of government, of the political structure. It affects all the other mountains. The mountain of arts. This is celebration, recreation, movies, arts, entertainment. Then there's media, shaper, mind shaper, public opinion. Then the business and economics piece. Now, let's get into this. Our subject tonight is why blacks should not rule, or should they? Equal with whites. We have this Birmingham Water Works tragedy in front of us, but it is just a template, a rubrics. It's just a model of what it is in many instances, in the general sense at least, white people think about black skinned people. I'll give you the history in just a minute, but here's an article, a bit of an article. January 12th, 2017, National Parks and Conservation Association, otherwise known as the NPCA, Birmingham in the 1950s and 60s was known as the most segregated city in the United States. Jim Crow laws separated black and white people in parks, pools, and elevators, at drinking fountains, and lunch counters. African Americans were barred from working at the same downtown businesses where many of them shopped. Ordinances even outlawed blacks and whites from competing against each other on the same field during sporting events. See, racism, I don't want someone to type this in here. I was thinking about this past weekend. Racism is a mental illness. Racism is mental illness. Something is wrong with people's minds, whether it's by what they've been taught or their thoughts or beliefs held true based on their demographic. It's mental. It's a mental illness. Racism is a mental illness. You see this in Birmingham, Alabama, as a template. Ordinances even outlawed blacks and whites from competing against each other on the same field during sporting events. See, this city has had a long history of this kind of racism. At the heart of such strict segregation policies was the belief by some whites, please listen, in the inherent inferiority of black people and the dangers associated with race mixing. You cannot, the superior white skinned people should not and mix with the inferior black skinned people. And the only difference was skin color. Talk, George Matthews. I'm going to. Between 1945 and 1963, there were 60 bombings of black homes, churches, and businesses in Birmingham, Alabama. all designed to intimidate or kill blacks who had the audacity to fight for basic rights. Birmingham, Bombing, Birmingham, Ham, was what the previous generations referred to, uh, how the previous generation referred to Birmingham. Now, why am I spending so much time on Birmingham? Well, it's going to become very clear, glaringly clear in a few minutes time. But I want you to understand that what happens in one precinct, one city, one area regarding racism is just a overshadowing, foreshadowing of the dangerous impacts and levels of impacts of this dangerous mental illness we refer to as racism. The world watched 1945, 1963 as events unfolded in Birmingham, specifically 1963. And when people saw the lengths, please listen, when people saw the lengths to which some would go to win freedom and to justice, black skinned people, and the extent to which others would attempt to deny them those rights, white skinned people, the world watched. And whatever happens in Birmingham to really is a crucible of what happens everywhere else. So this same mindset was dyed in the wool here years and years ago, as it was in the founding of this country. Birmingham, Alabama, found its the eye of the needle, so to speak, idiomatically speaking, the tip of the spear, another idiom, which would help us understand it. And so you have to study racism to really get it. One has to put their eyes on race and race relations and examples. Don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. See, this mindset continues not only in Birmingham, but vastly across the United States, fueled by this current administration, this presidential administration. Please hear me. Efforts to shift control of the Birmingham Waterworks Board. I refuse to refer to this valuable entity by the name that the takeover uh, uh, board and policies have renamed it. For me, it's the Birmingham Waterworks Board because this valuable asset belongs to the people of Birmingham and its surrounding areas, the areas that it services. Uh, Efforts to shift control of the Birmingham Waterworks Board away from the majority black city, Birmingham, often driven by surrounding white suburbs, are rooted in historical racial discrimination and power dynamics, aiming to redistribute, please hear me, aiming to redistribute management authority. It's okay if you work here, or is it? But the management authority and infrastructure control to wealthier, whiter suburban areas, some of which are in a minority. I'm going to show you the percentages in a minute. Uh, Serviced by this powerful entity. White suburban areas, which often constitute a large portion of the water system's customer base, have historically sought to control this utility to prevent what they perceive as management issues under a majority black city board. And see, that's always been the trick. One of the tricks that racism has played is to call a thing something that it is not, to name it something to let's just say the old people would say it this way, uh, scratching something that doesn't even itch. You see, when black people have control means power. Power means equality. And equality means equity. Equity means that somehow there's the perception that black people in a black majorly run entity may be as powerful as their white skinned brothers and sisters, whom we love affectionately. But you don't hear, and it's amazing to me. I'll get to the numbers in just a minute. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you don't hear an outcry from white evangelical brothers and sisters whom we love. They put their names on the line and stood in lockstep with number 45/47 in terms of his first and second presidencies. They put their ministries on the line. They let us know where they were. They made us know. Uh, but I've heard not anyone of any major consequence on the other side of the racial lines in religious spaces speak out against this petty war where innocent lives. And I don't believe the numbers that the American news is giving us. What is it? 9 people now have been killed. I don't believe that. I believe hundreds of people are probably dead. I say that because I look at the damage of the cities, Iran and surrounding areas, and I know how this administration lies. And but we'll hear it once it's over. Someone sent me an article that said that there's the closing, shutting down as far as admissions are concerned. I started to bring that article of military hospitals because they're so full of dead bodies that have come back from this war. I believe that. I more believe that than I believe that there have just been a handful, less than 10 people that have been killed on the American side. But I don't hear major named evangelicals speaking out, just like they didn't speak out against the foolish war of Vietnam a generation before my nativity, where men, much of it carried on when I was just an infant to maybe 8 or 9 years of age. But there was Dr. King's last stance was really his waging war, the war of words against the war in Vietnam. But you didn't hear white evangelicals stand with him on that for the most part. There were good white people that stood with him and have always stood with on the side of right instead of white. But you don't hear it in large scale. It's just crazy to me. People I've respected over the years of my life, at points in time I respected them, but because they're so silent, I don't respect them anymore. Because I believe that their silence may show because they were vocal when it came to supporting this president, but now you can't hear them. And the same holds true with this local situation of the Birmingham waterworks and the transference, the egregious takeover of the power of this particular entity. But let me go on. I'm going to come to the chat. You all type something in there. Um, here, let's look at let's bring the magnifying glass in on the subject of discrimination. City leaders and residents argue that attempts to change the appointment power for the board, such as shifting control from the city to surrounding areas, are racially motivated and aimed at weakening the political and economic influence of the city's Black population. That's the truth. That's not just an allegation, it's the truth, it's what we see. And you'll see it in just a minute's time. Let's talk about the resource of this entity called the Waterworks Board, the Waterworks. The dispute involves control over a vital, what's more vital to people than water? You please tell me what it is. When the earth is made up of, what is it? Of largely water. Your physical body is largely made up of water, and you need water to live. I see you, Theresa Thompson. She said, "I'm with you." Death toll questionable. Yeah, I don't believe that. I don't these line wonders. I don't believe anything about the death toll. When the Iranians would not bomb their own schools where their children were killed, over 200 children's bodies. I don't believe that. No, this government said Iran shot off those missiles that killed those children. They wouldn't kill their own children. Have you ever seen those precious people and their embrace of family? Nah, we killed those. Either U.S. or Israel dropped those bombs, and it'll come out. It may be years away, but just war crimes, the travesty of war. Pastor, I couldn't believe when Franklin Graham was making commercials on TV after he licked the shoes of 45/47. Yes, you're exactly right. I was done, Frank. I was done with your namesake. Well, not really namesake because you have the shorter version named after your father, I'm sure. That's crazy. When he started making those commercials for 45, number 45/47, I was like, nope, done. That's MAGA Republican at its best. I don't want to hear anything you have to say because it's all jaded. It's all jaded. Yes, that's foolishness to kill their own. That's exactly right. They wouldn't do that. No, no, no. That's American or Israeli. They're just lying. But the dispute is one of control, leadership, of black leadership in a majorly black city, Birmingham, Alabama, which is the same mindset of Project 2025. What does MAGA stand for? What is that acronym? MAGA, Make America Great Again. And every black skinned, bronze, or brown skinned person, if you voted that way, and if you still carry the water, let's just say metaphorically, for this administration, you have to ask yourself the question: when was America ever great for people that look like you? You've got to hate yourself. You have an understanding problem, and we probably all have been there to certain eras. And part of mine was the way I was educated and what was taught me, specifically to engineer a lens covering over the truth. But thank God for education, further education, and thank God for the ability to read. Um, Friday the 13th, this was this past Friday, ominously. I don't think that was by mistake that the Birmingham Waterworks Board fired over 130 people that walked in their jobs that morning without a credible reason for doing so on Friday the 13th. I think it was engineered just like Project 2025. It's my thought, and I'm entitled to it. Um, Ominous, just insidious that this all happened and came to a head on Friday the 13th. Just think about the number of people, and someone could type this in the chat if you will. How many people were dismissed from their jobs the day after the Super Bowl? The day after the Super Bowl parties, and they enforced a mandated or mandatory, I should better say, drug testing the day after the Super Bowl. Now we know what happens with our people of color, black, bronze, and brown people on with Super Bowl parties, that kind of thing. And then you had a specific targeted number of people. It wasn't mandatory across the board. So how many people were let go because of mandatory drug testing? And they kept these people, from what I'm told, in a housed them, corralled them in a room like animals, and refused to let them leave until they were tested by their own machine, let's just say. And some of the white skinned people, I was told, were able to have the ones that were tested had their liberty of being tested by their own private doctors. Oh, just crazy. So how many people were involved that? Then a few weeks later, this ominous Friday the 13th, to which some are referring to as White Friday. You see what I just did there? White Friday. 135 people were terminated from the former Birmingham Waterworks. You think about that. You think about that. See, as it stands, Democrats and members of the Birmingham Waterworks Board say what started as a bill last year, 2025, which is now has passed into law, wrongly takes control, and I agree, wrongly takes control that should remain with Birmingham. They said more than 90%, please listen to this, more than 90% of Birmingham Water Works Board's customers live in Jefferson County, and more than 40% live in Birmingham. So why would you change the makeup of the board to reflect only two people as representatives? I'll give you the numbers from Birmingham, and now take it from a 5-member board to a 7-member board, and the 5 other members are from other areas with these demographics, with these numbers. See, Birmingham formally controls 6 of the 9 seats of the current board. Okay. The now passed bill sponsored by, and catch his name, Senator Dan Roberts, a Republican from where? Can you all tell me where he was from? Where was Dan Roberts, State Senator Dan Roberts, a Republican, sponsored the bill that started all this activity? Can you tell me where he was from? What area of Birmingham and its metroplex was he from? Okay, if the needle doesn't move over there, I'll tell you. Just take an educated guess and hypothesis. The most white area in the state of Alabama, not only the most white area in the state of Alabama, excuse me, but also the richest area of the state of Alabama, right? Those are 2 clues I can give you. Are you all helping me? Mountain Brook. He's from Mountain Brook. Dan Roberts, Republican from Mountain Brook, replaced the system. He was the sponsor. That's right, Deborah Smith. He was the sponsor, Carolyn Banks. There you go. He was the sponsor that said this should take place. The Birmingham mayor, Birmingham City Council, and Jefferson County Commission now have one appointment. The governor has one appointment, and that person will be a resident of Jefferson County. I doubt it. Shelby County and Blount County will each have one appointment. The lieutenant governor now has one appointment with no residency requirement. The then bill, now law, added some qualification for board members, including requirements for backgrounds in business, finance, and for one slot on the board, engineering. See, the bottom line here, and I've got to get to the bottom line, and I'm going to tie it up in a minute. Just stay with me. The bottom line here is that Birmingham Waterworks Board was dramatically reshaped, that seized, dominated the reins of power from the Birmingham from Birmingham, and hands it to surrounding areas. I would tell you, white-skinned people. See, I guarantee you, you will see Project 2025 lived out. It was 900 plus, nearly 1,000 pages now as a playbook then, but now it's a reality being lived out. These people used to be the Ku Klux Klan type racist with the mask, or what was it, over the hoods, right? With just openings for their eyes and nose and mouth to breathe, I would think. But the hoods are off now because of this president and this current administration in this country. And I guarantee you what you're going to see. Is a replacement of black-skinned people at the Birmingham Water Works Board, and I refuse to call it its new name. I know what the new name is, but that entity still belongs to Birmingham and its residents. They should be leading it because water is the most. Can anybody tell me? I started asking this question before. What percent of the earth is water? What percent of the human body is water? Come on, put it in the chat. What percent? How important? It's going to tell you. By those percentages, you'll know how important water is. It's the most vital human resource. See, at the time of the takeover, circa 525, I think that was May of last year. May of last year. Let's see, I have a typo here. Let me correct it while I'm here, while I'm at it. Reportedly by House Representative Kevin Datcher, Democrat from Birmingham, reiterated what he said was the justification for the city's control of the board. And I agree with him on this, saying that 92% of the customers are in Jefferson County and 41% are in Birmingham. Datcher said Shelby County has 6%, St. Clair County has 1.7%, and Blount County has only 592 customers. Why are these people? Why are these people? There you all are. Yes, 70, and I've seen it as high as 75%, Carolyn. Yeah, but at least 68, 69, 70% of the human anatomy is made of water, the earth, water, both the same amount because man's human body is taken from the water, taken from the dust of the ground, from the earth, let's just say. So you're talking, let's just say, uh, and God never gave the formula. I know we know 2 parts hydrogen, 1 part oxygen compressed uh, uh, makes water, but you don't see anybody making it like blood. The 2 most essential elements of the human body. God kept a formula. You don't manufacture water, you process water. God makes water. We can pass along, all other things being equal, blood from one human being to another, but you don't manufacture blood. God kept the secret to himself. There is a God, and he's higher than all of the entities of the earth. Solomon said when he built this temple, and parts of the temple were overlaid completely with gold and precious stones, and he fell on his face over in the book of Chronicles, and he said, this temple, no way in the earth can contain the greatness of our God. And fire fell from heaven to validate that. That's a powerful entity. You talk about uppercase God. I don't want to preach here. By the way, Jefferson County, Alabama, Jeffco, otherwise known as, is a diverse urbanized county with a population of approximately 664,744 residents in 2024, centered around Birmingham. The population is roughly, here's how the demographics break down. The population is roughly 47 to 51% white, 42 to 43% Black African American, and about 4 to 5% Hispanic. So there's almost an even split in Jefferson County over black skinned people versus white skinned people. But now let's get down to it. See, I have an attorney friend in Tallahassee, Florida, who has another friend. And he told me this. He said, George, my friend so and so, attorney, says money is the answer. Now, what's your question? And see, this makes sense because over in the book of Ecclesiastes says money answers all things. And I say the answer is yes. So everything comes down to money. Money is your answer. Now, what it just apply to any question you have, money is your answer. So this entity, are you ready for this? You all fasten your seatbelts. This entity called the Birmingham Water Works for me has a total asset value to the citizens of Birmingham, to whom it belongs, if you ask me, valued at approximately 1.88 billion. That's with a letter B dollars. That's nearly $2 billion. Now, why is that important? Follow the money. Follow the money. See, it's a leadership issue. We don't want black people leading this, and black people are not equal with whites to have the same quality leadership. And I'll tell you why in a minute. Just stay with me from people's perspectives. And this is why this Birmingham Waterworks Board, Birmingham Waterworks, is just a sampling of what these people plan to do to make America great again. That's again means keeping black people, black bodied people, melanated skinned people in their place. And that is everywhere but a place of leadership, everywhere but a place where you can dictate the flow to white skinned people, because that's not your place. On the plantation, even the children could give instructions that had to be followed to black adult slaves. And even after slavery in this country, the 13th Amendment, by way of the Civil War, brought an end, a legal end to slavery, but it didn't stop enslavement and enslaved minds and enslaved behaviors. Because even at that, children could order, direct black skinned people. Black skinned men had to address little children, white skinned people, as ma'ams and sirs. And if they saw them walking, if they were facing each other opposite in an opposite way, facing each other on the sidewalk, the black man had to step off the sidewalk to let the child pass by. It was crazy, man. It's so you're talking about. So why is this power grab so substantial? What's it really all about? It's about the money. Money is the answer. And what's the question now? So here we are. Control of the waterworks assets for cities across America, and probably in the world, but across America. Here's what it means. Whoever controls the asset controls the money. But it means several things. Cities often leverage their waterworks, their water assets, to secure low interest bonds or government loans for massive projects that go into what's called bond markets, where because you have this powerful asset that is controlled by black people, they can go to bond markets and use the waterworks as leverage, as collateral, to qualify for city bonds by um, I'll break it down in a minute's time, at a lower interest rates to fund massive city improvement projects. So if you take away the asset and give it to the control of white people who live outside of the area will not allow this asset to be used as collateral for a black city. They will use this asset to collateralize their white cities, suburban areas, and leave the inner city to its own demise, its own ruin. You got to know how to play chess and stop playing checkers. That's the bottom line. The blight of the city, massive projects like financing city buildings, improving parks, improving city streets, attracting new businesses and business climates to the area happen when you are able to build a city that has an attraction to other businesses. And that's the economic flow of a city when you have new businesses coming in, and the taxes that come from those new businesses build the city. And so it's a dual process. And so they're not just coming after the Birmingham Water Works and getting rid of black leadership for the sake of getting rid of black leadership. Yes, there's that. But the big idea is, what does this entity represent? And when you own your waterworks, if the city owns it and it is privatized, and you don't want privatized water, we can get into that in another program. Um, because there's no profit motive, cities, and see, that's what happens when you privatize the water. Investors come in, and their motive is always more money for themselves, to enrich themselves. Um, Cities can set rates intended only to cover full operation and maintenance costs. When the city owns the water, the city can keep the rates manageable. Um, Public ownership. See, when the city owns it, cities can use the water assets as a tool, I'll say it another way, for broader community policy, economic development, reliable water infrastructure is treated as an anchor institution that attracts businesses and supports urban growth, urban inner city, black folks' growth in the inner city. When a city approaches the bond market, this is a note I want you to hear. When a city approaches the bond market, it is looking to borrow large sums, millions and millions of dollars, from investors to fund long term infrastructure projects or manage its debt. In simple terms, the city is taking out a mortgage on its public works, i.e., water companies, by issuing municipal bonds. This is what makes cities grow. But if you don't have an asset, you can't go into the bond market. You can't go into the bond market. You can't build the infrastructure. You can't replace aging water lines in the inner city. You're going to replace it, probably already have in suburban areas, but inner city, not as much. See, most cities cannot afford to pay for multi-million-dollar projects like new water treatment plants or bridges, streets, new buildings, creating recreational areas for inner city people out of their current city budget. The city budget doesn't allow for that. So now let's shift into gears. I'm coming to the chat. I promise you. Yes, yes, yes. See, the belief that black people are incapable of leading, held by, and I want to be distinct with this, some white people. And this is in the church. I preached for a female pastor for many years when we first moved here. And she was white. She's on with Jesus now. She was nice enough, but I noticed she was in the inner city area, built a marvelous physical building on the backs of mostly black people, but she had all white leadership. She went to heaven, and I heard it said, I wasn't there holding the light to see, but a minister came and told me that she said, and I believed it because this is the mentality of a lot of white people. She said that, black ministers cannot uh, treat the scriptures as white ministers because they're not as well learned, studied, or educated. In some cases, that may be true, but it is not based on skin color, because just like that may be true with black skinned people, is also true with white skinned people and other ethnicities as well. It's not skin color that's the determining factor, but that's the mindset that people have been given. It's been passed down. So see, this belief system that black people are incapable of leading, held by some white individuals, not all, some, is a complex issue. I told you it's mental illness is what it comes down to. It's a complex issue rooted in historical, psychological, I told you, and social factors rather than objective evidence of leadership ability. Much research suggests that this mindset is maintained through a combination of internalized systematic racism, ingrained stereotypes, and unconscious sometimes biases, where you've been taught that the black doll is not as attractive, black skinned doll is not as attractive as a white skinned doll, and a little child, even a black skinned child, may choose without proper teaching the white skinned doll because the hair is uh, more manageable, let's just say, more attractive initially, skin color. It's something that is inherent. It's passed down. It's taught. It's learned on the other side of it. See, moreover, historical ideologies of white supremacists were created to justify slavery and segregation. These narratives argued that black people were inferior. Please hear me, were inferior or required white guidance. That is it. That black, this mindset that black people were inferior and are in some people's minds, and require white guidance, creating a deeply entrenched social hierarchy. These historical perceptions conclude continually to influence the modern white psyche. The white psyche. Here are a few points to consider. implicit leadership biases. That means when most people think leadership, please hear me, don't leave, please don't leave. Most people think leadership, they think white. They think ownership, they think white. That's inherent. It's inherent in our mindsets, in most white people's mindsets, because that's been passed along to them. And after all, they had a head start in leadership, politics, ownership. And that's what happens when you have free labor since 1619 all the way to 1865. You had slaves working, serving in every way, general slavery, chattel slavery for white skinned people. Black people had no head start. Their white skinned opposite others did. Studies show that many people have an implicit pro-white, quote unquote, leadership bias, where white is subconsciously associated with leadership traits like decisiveness and competence. This unconscious, sometimes, association causes people to misjudge Black leaders as incompetent, even if they explicitly believe in equality. They can believe in equality, but when it comes to leadership, when it comes to the question of Mr. White Man, my white brother, white skinned sister, do you believe that Black leadership is just as, and in some cases, more capable than white skinned people? And hence the problem with electing a Vice President Harris to the presidency. All Donald John Trump had to do was show up in that equation. And in some people's minds, they just couldn't do it. It was just a grace of God that Barack Hussein Obama was able to win the election, the presidential election twice. Grace of God. Yeah, I know. I know. People don't like this, but let's just go. See, there's something called fear and threat mechanisms. Now, this is true. It was true with slavery. Think of it now, because you had, let's just say, the numbers show that somewhere between 10 and 15 million million slaves were stolen from, jacked, if you will, uh, from Africa, brought over the Middle Passage to the Newfoundland to work. In addition to that, it is estimated that 2 million of those same Black-bodied people died in the Middle Passage. So let's just say somewhere between 12 and 17 million were extracted from Africa to work a stolen continent from the Native Americans or the Aborigines. But the mindset was, even on plantations, just think if George Washington had 200 slaves, there was no way to prevent 200 slaves from, that's right, country's first president, I think it was 200. Somebody can research it and type it in the chat if you find me to be incorrect. Search it up. I don't ever want you to just take my word for it. Search the word, search the statements I make. I hope, and my attempt is for everything to be valid and truthful. But let's just say, let's just say, let's just say, for the sake of argument and discussion, that the first president of this country, George Washington, had 200 plus slaves. There would have been no way to control those slaves from uh, overrunning the plantation, taking George, dear old George, who never told a lie, which is a lie, uh, from, oh, was that Abraham Lincoln? But anyway, whoever it was, uh, overrunning the plantation, burning it, taking it over, and Black people now are in charge. So how do you control them? Well, two of the mechanisms of control were fear and threat. The idea of Black leadership is sometimes perceived as a threat to existing social, economic, and political power structures. Historically, this stems from a fear-guilt complex. regarding slave revolts, which created a deep-seated fear of losing control. Nat Turner and all the slave revolts, they understood that Black people could converge and cooperate with each other and overrun a system. So they had to control the system with threats of fear. And they had to interject that into slaves' mindset by damaging body parts for those who were caught attempting to escape. And it embedded the mindset of control. That's what it was all about. Um, there's another factor called stereotype application and misconduct. Prejudice attitudes arise from cognitive shortcuts like stereotyping. In other words, we just associate certain things with Black leadership and Black people altogether. And you don't have to concern yourself with the mindset of anything else. So once you label certain things happen with Black leadership, other things don't happen, more positive, desirable things don't happen with Black leadership, and you stereotype that, you cast it into the whole demographic of Black skinned people. People they go into a frenzy when they see it because that's what they've been taught. You know, have you ever had the situation where white people come to you and they say, yeah, somebody said they've been to Mount Vernon over 200 or more, Theresa Thomas. Yes, I'm telling you, over 200 or more enslaved Black skinned people. The first president of the country, George Washington, 200 plus, 200 plus. That tells you the mindset of the country. Now, I don't know. People don't want you to talk about it, but it's the truth. And that's why history is important. It shows you the length that of damaging actions of human beings, their capabilities. History shows you what people, human beings, otherwise known as, can and will do. You shake your head, you wag your head, you say, no, they would never do that. Just look at the history. History tells you the magnitude of human behavior. Someone else said Washington owned 123 slaves and managed 317. He freed them in his will. Yeah, he freed them in his will after he was dead and gone. He couldn't profit from their work. Stereotype application of misconduct. I've got to hurry. Prejudiced attitudes arise from cognitive shortcuts like stereotyping. If a Black leader fails, the stereotype of incompetence is applied. If they succeed, it is often dismissed through quote unquote compensatory stereotypes, attributing success to luck. He was just one of a group. He's special, she's special. The rest of them aren't like that, or some special circumstances rather than genuine leadership ability. Then there's this concept: why don't we want Black leadership from the white perspective? Here are factors. Two more. One, the glass cliff phenomenon. Black leaders are often appointed to listen to leadership roles during times of crisis, the glass cliff, which carries a higher likelihood of failure, thereby reinforcing false narratives of incompetence. That's what's the general's name? The Black general who refused to how do you say it? To sort of in a way refused a promotion because he knew he was going to be set up for failure in these crisis times with 45/47. He said, "Ain't no way you are going to put me in this highest seat of authority because you're going to make." He's seen it before. You're going to make all the wrong choices and blame me. I'm going to be a fall guy. What was his name? He kept receipts, and he was just a smart. He's a general. I want to say United States Army, or perhaps he was Air Force. He might have even been Semper Fidelis, Marine Corps. What's his name? Somebody type his name in the chat. But that's what he recognized. And going back historically, that's what Colin Powell became for George Bush. He was the blame guy. He was the fall guy. The white man couldn't say, what was his name? Oliver North in the 80s for Reagan. He wasn't black, but it's the same concept. The fall guy, because pure white people who are in leadership will never, what I just say, will never accept the consequence of their wrong decision. You will never see 45/47 unless Jesus comes into his heart in a major way, magnificent way. You will never see him accept. He's blaming now, Head Seth. He's blaming, what's the girl's name? He fired. He didn't fire her. He just gave her a cushy position because she knew she knows too much. She knows why the bodies are buried. Um, you see that because they'll never get in front of the camera and say, that was me. That was my decision. And I take full responsibility. I own it. You'll never see that happen. And so black leadership only exists for this glass cliff phenomenon. That if I need a fall person, I mean, they sneaked. I was reading something the other day. They sneaked Condoleezza Rice from the Bush administration to the White House. Why? Last week, why? Christy Nome, that's right. Thank you, Theresa. Christy Nome was just rearranged, cushy position, because this president was blaming her, and because she's incompetent, number one, uh, as all the other administration is, for most part, from what I can tell. Uh, they just need to be loyal to Trump. That's all that's the qualifications they need. Um, but they sneaked in. I saw pictures, unless it was AI and it looked non-AI ish. And I read another article that said it was a fact. They brought in, who did I just say? They just brought her in um, because she is an expert, black skinned sister, an expert, Condoleezza Rice from Birmingham, product of the Birmingham school system. They brought her into the White House because she's an expert on geopolitics. She's an expert on foreign affairs. But you don't want her. You don't want the world to know that you're taking information from a black skinned woman, uh, not only a black skinned person, but even more so a woman. You haven't seen that in the news. Search it up if you don't believe me. And then there's this misinterpretation of black behavior. Assertive behavior from black leaders is sometimes misinterpreted by others as aggressive because we project when we speak, we're demonstrative, we gesticulate, we use our hands, we use our facial expression. We're not like our white skinned counterparts whom we love. We're different. We're of a different nature of people. But they use those indicators to say they're too aggressive. They did that with Vice President Harris. They did that all the time. You're an angry black woman. You're an angry black man. You're too, so forth and so on. But anyway, here's the deal. There's this often assertive behavior from black leaders that is sometimes misinterpreted by others as aggressive or hostile due to racial bias, leading to unfair assessments of their ability to manage teams. All right, I'm closing. What are y'all saying over here before we leave? Lakita is there. Thank you. Just to piggyback on why whites don't want black leadership, when leadership becomes more diverse, some people may feel that the long-standing power structure is changing or being challenged. Yes, we covered that earlier. That's this race mixing concept I mentioned earlier in the program. That if things change, not only will blacks and whites coexist peacefully, equally, but what comes after that? What comes after peaceful coexistence of the races? Race mixing genetically. That's what happened on the slave farms, plantations. That's why you have light skinned black people with narrow noses, They're black, but they're the slave enslaver somewhere, either on the ship coming from Africa or on the slave plantation, raped or took advantage of a black woman, a pure black woman. This is why we have where there's not a monolith as a people, but they know what happens. They know, along with this change, a shift, there will come. Right? And see, when in America, in this country, white skinned people are the majority. It's the only place in the world. In the world, black skinned people are the majority, brown skinned people are the majority, and white skinned people are a minority. They don't want that in this country. It was the mindset of the fathers and framers. What else are you all talking about over here before we close? Yeah, the plantations were prison farms. Yes, free labor. That's how our white counterparts were given a free pass to get ahead economically. Yes, yes. I'm going back to see what you all are saying over here before we close. Yes, Pamela says she never bought her daughter a white. Oh, no, this is Connie. Connie said, I never bought my daughter a white doll. Yeah, we had to teach our children, and particularly our daughter, about that as well. All dolls. And at one point, my daughter was talking about this the other night. She and I named all her dolls, and she told me she had 63, and they all had different names. And I had to play with her and all that kind of thing. You know how that goes. But anyway, all black mentality of some that has been passed down since the caste system since 1619. Absolutely, the racial system is the caste system on steroids. We'll get into that another program. Um, yes, 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 yes. Jeffrey Tate, welcome in. From the inception of white European males, whomever gained control of the resources gained control of the wealth and their fellow man. Absolutely. The combination of the word absolutely and show enough. That's the bottom line. That's how it's always been. That's how it's always been. Thank you, Jeffrey. Who else is there? The Waterworks entity has been, someone says, Connie says, the Waterworks entity has been stealing money forever. And we, the Birmingham Jeffco citizens, are having to pay more and increased payments. Yep, yep, yep. I mean, because this is tied in, oh man, we don't even want to get into the sewer system, but all that's interlaced, set up for the supernatural power of God. We believe that. Yes, yes, money is the answer. Now, what is your question? Yes. Yeah, this is crazy, man. But I'm telling you, you need to speak out. Understand there's a meeting coming up. I don't know if I'll be, I think I have a prior commitment, but I would love to be at that meeting at the former Birmingham Waterworks Board. I think it's coming up this coming Saturday or maybe even Friday. I'm not sure, but that's where people need to be to make your, just not even say anything. You just need to show up. We need to be there. Don't forget, the 2026 midterm general election will be held on Tuesday, November 3rd. Talk to your family about this. The midterm is important. The midterm elections across the country are important because this is how we uh, sort of correct the political imbalance that may have occurred in a presidential administration in its first 2 years. That's why it's called the midterm. So it's Friday. Theresa, thank you. Friday, I don't know where. I think it's at the Birmingham Waterworks Board. I don't know the time. Somebody gets the time. Please put it up here. Um, and so it's really designed for the election of the congresspersons, your U.S. senators, and the U.S. House of Representatives. Now, other states are tagged into that. The state of Alabama has its gubernatorial election will happen, all that kind of thing. But the midterms are really important because it really is going to either enhance number 45 slash number 47, it's going to empower him further, or it's going to siphon away from him the power of being a dictator, being shifting from a democracy to an authoritarian government, based on our votes. So one of these days, I want to talk to us about how we feel about early voting. Theresa Thomas, we need to have this conversation at one of these points in time, I know. How do we feel about early voting in light of the Save America Act? And the Save America Act, in short, is a bill. I don't think it's been passed yet, but it's a bill arrive about 8:30 at the Waterworks Board downtown. That's on First Avenue, I do believe. So, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, it's worth your while to be there. Get there about 8:30 because we're hoping for thousands to be there. I want the news media to see, and nothing happens in a city until its citizens revolt. I mean, we don't have to throw bricks or anything like that, but we need to just bodily be present. But as I was saying, the Save America Act, and they do these dubious titles that if you don't look under the rock of it, you don't see what the real. It's voter suppression in my mind. It requires, in a nutshell, uh, more proof of citizenship, which the typical citizen, and this will affect millions of voters in America, do not carry. No longer will the driver's license will be sufficient. Under the Save America Act, you will have to have no longer military ID or tribal ID, just additional hurdles of citizenship proof that you have one has to have. So this will negate basically mail-in votes, those types of ballots. Everything will have to be in person. So what do you do with the seniors, the elderly, those who are incapacitated? It's crazy, man. It's voter suppressionish in my mind, if I can coin a phrase. It was business philosopher Jim Rohn who makes the statement, sincerity is not a test of truth. We cannot make this mistake. He must be right. He's so sincere, or she. It is possible to be sincerely wrong. These are two situations. We must judge truth by truth and sincerity by sincerity. And other people say to me, George Matthews, that's me. God says just pray about things. Well, just read it. Show that to me in the scriptures, because the Bible I read says, Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 7, just as there's a time to be silent, there's another time to speak. We cannot afford to be silent from our various platforms of influence. Silence is, some would say, golden. You all type something in the chat, use an emoji, your favorite emoji, before departing, please. And I say to that, silence is golden piece only until someone's family and friends are negatively affected by wrongdoing. Others would say silence is great. I say until someone's voice becomes necessary to save your life or corroborate one's innocence. Silence is compromise. Silence is complicity with erroneous thinking. Silence is agreement with sanitized history. Silence is co-signing with control, racist, bigoted, and supremacy mentality. Silence is equity and fairness in reverse. Silence robs supremacy of ever hearing truth and having the opportunity to change. Silence is the voice of continuous ethnic mistreatment. Silence validates inferior treatment. Silence is the approval of being objectified and maligned. Silence is often mistaken for agreement and consent. Silence is the devastation of a child being uncontrolled, untrained, and undisciplined by its silent parents. Silence is one level of maintaining and perpetuating cloaked ignorance. Silence is the ostrich syndrome. You know that one. Sticking one's head in the sand, praying and hoping when it's retrieved, everything will be all right. All right. Black, bronze, and brown children must know how to correctly respond to racism, which they can only know when we are not silent. Truth does not require error to be silent in order to be or exercise control. Error, however, requires the silence of truth to take control of any and every situation. Speaking the truth is not the crime, withholding it is. Be silent. only if speaking serves to boost your ego or to seek validation. Blessings and peace to you and yours. We'll be back another time. Make sure and type something in the chat. This helps the algorithm to um, express itself and to advance itself to others who are not typical parts of our viewer slash listenership. I appreciate you all so very much. I appreciate your time. Blessings and peace to you and yours. And remember, we can never afford to be silent again. We'll see you the next time.
Lift every voice and sing till earth and heaven ring, ring with the harmony of liberty. Let our rejoicing rise high as the glistening skies. Let it resound